Hello guys, I'm going to walk you through the complete process to do a dark t-shirt transfer on t-shirt transfer paper. This is not vinyl, okay? So I'm going to walk you through the process. I'm going to do the system piece and then I'll come back and do a live video of the ironing on piece, okay? So without further ado, I'm in Cricut Design Space. I have a blank canvas ready for my image, so I'm going to click on Upload on the left-hand side. And I've already brought my image into Cricut Design Space, but for those that don't know how, you would just click on Upload Image, Browse, and then you would locate the file that you want to use wherever it is on your computer. Once you find it, you'll just click on it and select Open. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to cancel out here because I already have my image. I'm going to be working with a JPG file, and that's because I want the background to have some white in it because I'm putting it on a dark colored t-shirt. All right, so I've selected my JPG. I'm going to click on Insert Images on the bottom right-hand side of my screen. And now the image is coming into Cricut Design Space on my blank canvas, as you can see here. And I always, guys, unlock my image from the top to size it. And I always place the positioning at 0 and 0. So the X is 0, the Y is 0, because you always want your image sitting in the top left-hand corner in Cricut Design Space. And then I am going to change my width and my height. So I'm going to say I want the width about 6.5, and I'm going to do about 7 on the height. Well, let's see what that looks like. I like it. Now, when you look over to the right side, and I'm going to lock that back just by clicking the lock. When you look over to the right-hand side of your screen, you can see that the image shows the name of the Cricut Design Space shows the name of the image, and it shows that this is a cut and print file, or shall I say print and cut file, meaning it's going to print this image out on my printer on the dark t-shirt transfer paper. Then I'm going to take the dark t-shirt transfer paper after the image is printed, place it into my Cricut Maker, and have my Cricut Maker to cut the image out for me. And then I'll show you where we go from there. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead because I have everything. I'm not adding anything else, just this image, and that's it. So now I'm going to select Make It. So now you see the image on the imaginary mat here. And this is the way you want to place your t-shirt transfer paper on your cutting, on your mat, okay? So you want to make sure that your image is portrait side and not landscape, because if you turn your paper landscape on your mat and place it into the cutting machine, then Cricut Design Space will not recognize the print lines or the cut lines, and it'll give you an error message. So you want to make sure that you lay your paper on your mat just like you see it displayed here. Since I'm working with dark t-shirt transfer paper, I will not be mirroring this image, because with dark t-shirt transfer paper, you just peel off the backing and lay the image on your t-shirt and iron it with the image facing you. And I'll show you that. So at this point, I'm ready to click on Continue in the bottom right corner. And Cricut Design Space is going to recognize my cutting machine. It says no device found, and that's because my Cricut Maker is off. So let me turn that on. And now you see that Cricut Design Space has recognized my Cricut Maker, or is recognizing my cutting machine, which is the Cricut Maker. And now I am going to click on Send to Printer. I already have my dark t-shirt transfer paper in my printer. And so all I will need to do is click on Print. All right. I do want to tell you that I normally remove the bleed, so I just click on Add Bleed to remove it. If you wanted to use your system settings for your printer, then you would just move this little button over to the right side. I'm not going to do that. But if you wanted to, let's say you wanted to change it to a glossy paper or whatever other kind of paper you're using, then you could get to your printer settings by moving this button over to the right-hand side. But I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on Print, and my printer will print the image out for me. All right, so it is printing. I'm going to grab the print. All right, so now I have my image. It's printed out on the Dark Tshirt Transfer paper. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to be placing the image on my mat, and I am going to indicate here the type of material that I'm going to be using. So I have my image laying on my mat now, and I am now going to tell Cricut Design Space what type of material I am actually having this image cut from. So I like to use, guys, and you guys can use the heat transfer, but my preference is the cardstock for intricate cuts, and that's because I can ensure that it's going to be a nice clean cut. It doesn't rip my edges or anything like that, because you know t-shirt transfer paper can be kind of thin. So I am going to place this into my cutting machine. I'm going to select cardstock for intricate cuts. I'm not going to put on more pressure or anything like that. And I'm just going to hit the button to insert the mat into my cutting machine. And now I am going to hit my Cricut logo. All right, so now my cutting machine is actually looking for where to cut this image from. I have my Dark Tshirt Transfer paper laying on the mat, just like you see here in the portrait position. Okay, so it's going to scan. It's making sure the blade is appropriate for this type of cut, which I'm using just the fine point blade. And you can see it's 50% complete. And with this type of material, for the type of material I've told Cricut Design Space I'm using, it's early in the morning, guys, it does 2 cuts for me. So now it's complete, and I'm just going to release the mat. All right, so I'm going to end the video here, and then I'm going to pick up with the part 2 to show you the complete process of ironing this onto my t-shirt. So give me a second and I will post part 2.